We often find ourselves correcting our teen sons when they do something wrong. We point it out, talk about it, and encourage them to do better. But how often do we intentionally notice and acknowledge when they're doing something right? In today's episode, we're talking about positive parenting. Not by lowering expectations, but by reinforcing the character and behaviors we want to see more of. We'll discuss how our sons often rise to the expectation we set, and how encouragement, clear boundaries, and leading by example can help them grow into the young men God created them to be. Welcome to Raising Boys with Purpose, a Christian parenting podcast for moms raising teens and young adult sons. I'm Brooke, a boy mom and parenting coach, and here we talk about raising sons, building character, and preparing our boys for adulthood with confidence and faith. For more encouragement and conversation throughout the week, come join our Raising Boys with Purpose Facebook group. The link for all my social media is in the description. How many times have we had conversations with our sons where we end up giving them a list of don't do this and don't do that? There are certainly times when that's necessary because our sons, they need clear boundaries. But I've been thinking lately that there are also many opportunities to frame our teaching more positively. Instead of only catching them when they're doing something they shouldn't, what if we become more intentional about catching them doing the things they should? Sometimes our greatest opportunity isn't simply correcting bad behavior. It's encouraging the character and habits we hope will continue to grow. I have to admit, being a naturally positive parent does not come easily to me. I've always been good about thanking people, including my children, and showing appreciation for the things they do. But if I'm honest, I've also tended to notice when things go wrong more quickly than when things go right. Over the years, though, I've realized I don't want to excuse that by saying, that's just how I am. Instead, I've tried to become more intentional. I deliberately look for things I can encourage, and sometimes I have to consciously slow myself down long enough to notice the good before I notice the problem. I still don't get it right every time, but I've learned that encouragement is something we can practice. And the more we practice it, the more naturally it begins to come. Now, before we jump in, I want to say something. This isn't meant to be an official guide to positive parenting. It's simply how I've come to understand what positive parenting looks like through my own experiences. To me, being a positive parent doesn't mean avoiding correction or pretending everything is okay. It means communicating clear boundaries, encouraging our children when they make good choices, reinforcing the behavior we want to see more often, leading by our own example, and using discipline that is both productive and kind. All of those pieces work together. As parents, we've been teaching our sons from the time they were little. We've taught them about safety, appreciation, obedience, and manners. Those lessons don't simply help our homes run more smoothly. They also reflect our faith and the respect we're called to show both to ourselves and others. Ultimately, as Christians, we're called to love others in everything we do. Matthew 7:12 reminds us, so in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. At the same time, while Ephesians 6 tells children to obey their parents, Colossians 3:21 reminds parents not to discourage their children. I think those two truths belong together. Our sons need clear expectations, but they also need parents who lead in ways that build them up rather than tear them down. That starts with boundaries. As parents, we need to set expectations that are appropriate for our son's age and communicate them clearly. Of course, those expectations will change as they grow, but we also don't want to keep moving the goalposts. If a rule changes because of a new situation, we need to explain that. We can't expect our sons to know something has changed if we've never told them. I also think our sons need the freedom to ask questions. Sometimes parents mistake questions for disrespect, but often they're simply just trying to understand. That's how they learn. Respectful conversation and even respectful disagreement is healthy. Parents still have the final say, but good conversations help our sons understand not only what we're asking, but why we're asking it. One area where I think many of us struggle is encouragement. It's easy to notice when something goes wrong because, let's be honest, it interrupts our day. It frustrates us, and sometimes it creates a domino effect for everyone else in the house. But when our sons do exactly what they're supposed to do, we often don't say much because we think, well, that's expected. While that's true, it's also a missed opportunity. Now, my boys are a bit mischievous, and things don't always work out the way they plan. But they're also very helpful. Often they would help out with being told. And when I would notice and bring attention to it, you could tell they really enjoyed when I pointed it out and thanked them. When we acknowledge responsibility, kindness, maturity, or good judgment, we're reinforcing the very behaviors we hope will continue. Our sons begin to realize that we notice more than just their mistakes. I've also noticed that attention and love become connected in a child's mind. If the only time they're consistently receiving our attention is when they've done something wrong, they may begin to believe that that's how they get noticed. Our sons are still learning, and we're teaching them not only how to behave, but also what healthy relationships look like. Looking back, I think this is one area where we unintentionally change as our boys get older. It's easy to encourage little children because everything they do is new. We celebrate the first time they roll over, take their first steps, or ride a bike. Those milestones are exciting. But as they get older, our expectations naturally increase. We begin expecting responsibility instead of celebrating growth. And sometimes we forget that they're still learning. They still have hard days. They still need encouragement just as much as they did when they were little. So here's something I'd love for you to think about. How does your son feel most encouraged? We've talked before about the love languages. Maybe words of affirmation are especially meaningful to him. Or maybe they aren't. Either way, understanding how your son receives encouragement can help us become more intentional in the way we support him. Of course, our sons aren't only learning from what we say. They're learning from what we do every single day. They watch how we treat our spouse, how we talk about other people, how we respond when we're frustrated, and how seriously we take our faith. Even the little things communicate something. Do we take the shopping cart back to the corral? It's not scientific, but no one is forcing us to do it, and there's no reward if we do, and there's no punishment if we don't. But it's a simple example of choosing to do the right thing because it's the right thing. Whether we realize it or not, our sons are constantly watching us. Our actions often teach more loudly than our words ever could. Now, choosing to be a positive parent doesn't mean we ignore poor choices. Our sons are going to make mistakes because they're human, just like we are. There will absolutely be times when discipline is necessary. But discipline has a purpose. Its purpose is to teach, to correct, and to give positive direction for what should be done differently next time. Sometimes that includes consequences, and sometimes punishment is appropriate, but neither should come from anger or harshness. We've talked before about the difference between being nice and being kind. I'll leave a link to that episode in the description. Kindness doesn't avoid difficult conversations. Kindness is helping our sons become the young men God created them to be, even when those conversations aren't easy. Ultimately, that's what we're trying to do. We're not raising perfect sons. We're raising young men of faith, strength, kindness, responsibility, and character. I'd love for you to think about this today. What is one way you've intentionally led your son by example? And when discipline has been necessary, what have you found teaches him the most? Not simply what gets his attention, but what truly helps him grow. Being a mom is a huge responsibility, and there are days when it can feel overwhelming. We're all doing our best, but we still make mistakes. When that happens, don't be discouraged. Those moments become opportunities too, because we get to show our sons what it looks like to admit when we're wrong, learn from it, and keep growing. Teaching never stops, and our sons don't only learn from the times when we get everything right. They also learn from watching how we handle the times we don't. One day, our sons will leave our homes, and we won't always be there to remind them what to do. But the lessons we've taught them, the example we've lived, and the encouragement we've given will go with them. And even more importantly, God will go with them too. So this week, don't just look for the moments that need correcting. Look for the moments worth celebrating, because sometimes the words our sons need to hear most are simply, "I noticed." If this episode of Raising Boys with Purpose encouraged you, please like this video and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes of this podcast. And if you're raising a teen or young adult son and want encouragement and practical guidance, come join us in the Raising Boys with Purpose Facebook community. The link is below. Thanks for being here today. Now grab your iced coffee, hug your son, and remember, you're raising him with purpose.